Good morning, everybody. 8 a.m., June 16th. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday went exactly as I expected. The only trade I could have did really was go long off the open. Other than that, horrible price action. And I wrote about it yesterday with the contract rollover, the shortened week, FOMC. It was Monday, right? The big gap up, just tons of stuff to digest. And the market I pretty much felt was going to go up, but I really didn't have a setup per se. Now, like I said, full transparency, I am long NEM, the mining stock, and that's doing well again today. My entry is about $99. It's up to 107 right now. So I'm going to try to hold that for a position trade. Um, Now, this morning, we're a little muted. NASDAQ is a little relatively stronger, but markets are muted. Remember, tomorrow's FOMC. Okay. Tomorrow's FOMC. Okay. There's not much data that's important today to coming out. Crude is down 3% more. It's down to $78.30 a barrel. That will probably continue to fall as long as the talks continue to have positivity that they're going to sign an agreement. Crude should continue to fall. And guess what's going to fall? CPI. Okay. So let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. Use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the market along supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Just want to come up with game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my market internals. It lets me know where money flows are going off the open. Right. That's all I care about is where the money is going off the open. I don't care about the previous day's close. Okay. Now, hopefully, you join me every day. Subscribe. Set that alert. Okay. Give you the market news, the economic calendar, technical analysis, and I always give you the long, short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and ES futures later in the stream. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on a link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right. Now, let's go right into futures. Silver is leading the pack, up 0.71%. 30-year bonds are being bought, just 10 yields lower. They're up 0.33. Nasdaq's up 0.27. Russell's up 0.25. Gold's up 0.23. Dow's up 0.08. ES up 0.07. All right, dollar's flat. Bitcoin is pretty much flat, down 0.23. VIX is down 0.37. 10-year yield is down almost a 0.5%. Ethereum down 1.24. And crude is your laggard, down 3.10%. Mag 7 plus here. AMD is up 0.60. Amazon up 0.64. Okay. Who's lagging today? Well, Apple Netflix down 0.27, Microsoft down 0.79. Software's getting hit a little bit today. Not big time, but it is. Tesla down 0.89. All right, top sectors. Qualcomm. Qualcomm had some news about it. They're purchasing some kind of, I can't remember, being honest with you, but they're up 4.84%. They had a really nasty pullback last week, and I'm assuming people are buying that up. Micron, boy, oh boy, all-time highs, up 3.36%. And there's my NEM that I'm long in, up 1.24. GE Vernova, up 0.75. Lagging, Boeing, Walmart, Uber, Palantir, Oracle. So all four companies getting hit this morning. Okay, not a ton, but they are. Sectors. Technology is leading the pack, up 0.48, followed by semiconductors, up 0.45, followed by utilities, up 0.25. Only laggard today is energy, down 0.27. On to the economic calendar. Okay, today, ADP employment change weekly. Okay, and housing starts, export. These don't really move markets. 4:30 of API crude. All right, we're going to move on from here. Now, the main thing today is Wall Street futures steady as investors wait Iran peace agreement details. There's Brent extends drop. Okay, and the Fed rate decision looms. All right, I haven't seen anything newsworthy really to talk about. All right, Trump's schedule. for today. It looks like he's going to be in a bilateral meeting with President of the United Arab Emirates, Emirates in France. This is at 11:15 a.m. Participates in a working lunch with G7 leaders at 12. Okay. Maybe we hear something from there. Okay. News: SpaceX to buy Cursor AI coding agent. Okay. NVIDIA to raise 25 billion in first corporate bond sale in 5 years. Okay. Um, that's really well. There is Qualcomm news that I just wanted to say here. Qualcomm, company in talks to acquire AI chip startup Tenstorrent for 8 billion to 10 billion. The information reported on Monday, citing a person with knowledge of the deal. The talks were ongoing. All right, one of the world's largest suppliers of smartphone chips, Qualcomm has increasingly sought to reduce its dependence on cyclical handset market by expanding into high-growth segments such as data center processors and autonomous vehicle chips. The startup developer accelerates for training AI models and running AI applications. So probably maybe why it's getting some love. Okay. Now we're going to look at some breadth charts here. Let's see where we stand. Let's do it. Oh, I don't like that I did that. Why did I do that? It just shrunk my chart on me. There we go. Okay. Let's go to the first. We're going to go to 20-day. Whoa. All right. It makes sense. 70% of stocks are over the 20-day simple moving average. Now, once you get into the 80s, you get a little frothy. All right. Let's see the 50-day. 50-day, we're 63%. We took a turn back yesterday a little bit. Well, we had a positive day, but looks like we opened and then closed lower. Okay. So 63. We were in the 50s forever. So breadth improved. Breadth definitely improved. Now, going to look at the bullish percent index. Remember, that's point and figure charts that don't use time. And it looks at every stock. So in this case, 500 stocks individually. And how many percent of those 500 stocks are on buy signals? That improves 60%. Okay. Let's look at NASDAQ. Remember, NASDAQ was starting to get oversold. Look at that. Remember, I was talking about that when it was at 35. Look at that. It's at 54. So money flows coming back in. Okay. And we'll end it with the technology sector, which is also getting oversold. Pushed, got money flows back into it. Okay. Now, the one reason I got into NEM, because I saw basic materials, which has metals in it, was oversold as well down here. Right. Hoping. And now look at that pop up. Okay. Now, we're going to move on now. Okay. To the market internals. Market internal recap today. Yesterday, they were just pretty much strong out the gate. And you had this move up. Really didn't give you a pullback, really. Just moved up. Technology led the dance. But you can see at the end of the day, right? It wasn't just the market was like the strongest in the world off the open. Off the open. This is all off the open. Okay. Financials was down off the open. Right. Industrials, a little bit. Healthcare. Eli Lilly had a wasn't the strongest yesterday. Okay, look at energy though. That's interesting. Energy was, let me see here, one of the leaders yesterday off the open, which was interesting. Okay, so, and like I said, basically just strong, not much weakness. But look at the equal weight degraded, right? So, but remember, we move on market cap weight. All right, now we're going to move the daily charts. So here's our daily charts. Okay, so we had a downtrend line, right? I was talking about it prior. We basically took it out. Okay, big gap. Big gap now. All right. Now, remember, I talked about this daily supply zone. I said it's not going to be easy to go through. All right. So in SPY, we did not hit last month's highs. That's the white line. Okay. Never even hit the 50. All right. So we're above last week's range. Okay. Now, where are we now? 755.30. 755.30 puts us at the upper third of yesterday's session. Let's look at futures now. In this daily supply, let's put this on the chart. Let's just put this on the chart here. Okay. In this daily supply, and let's extend this out. Okay, so this daily supply, right, is not going to be easy to go through. Okay, it really is not. And then you have almost another daily supply stacked on top of it. Well, let's see. Let's see what the market does. Now, have a little hammer here, So, like I said, this market's weird this week. Rollover, FOMC, shortened week. It's a little weird. Okay, you get weird movements in the markets when there's rollover. All right, let's look at the Qs now. Qs. Okay, big gap up, but the Qs hit last month's highs and closed above last month's highs. Okay, reaching towards all-time highs. So big move, gap and go up. Where are we now? 745.50. 745.50. That puts us. Oh yeah, they're gapping up. So the Nasdaq slightly gapping up. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Here's our Nasdaq, right? Now you took out this daily supply, so that's a big feather in the cap for the Nasdaq. Okay, big feather in the cap for the Nasdaq. So all-time highs in sight at 311. 311 up in the Nasdaq. All right. That's your daily charts. Let's move on to the hourlies. And this market is really just not exciting, to be honest with you. It really isn't. Let's go to the hourlies here. Okay. So big gap. That's that big kind of light blue box here. Yesterday, we just new week opening gap here. And then literally that's last Friday's highs. So range gap. And then you have this price action from yesterday, pulled back, consolidating again. It probably wants to just higher. Okay. So if we look at this chart, right? Look at the chart. This is why I said this daily supply, a lot of trading up here. Okay. The most traded price of the month still is around the 76.55 area and a ton of overhead supply. So I still think you have to lean long, right? Even pull back, go long. Here, you're probably going to go, you're probably going to move up here, and we're going to try to work off this supply. It's basically how you have to look at this right now. I mean, crude is down, metals are up, yields are lower. I mean, it's pretty much, and now, cuts. They were thinking about even doing hikes later on in the year. That's probably going to start to come off the table, right? And especially when we actually sign this agreement. So that's what I'm kind of looking at now. Let's go to the Qs. Remember, the Qs are relatively stronger this morning. So now the Qs, the most traded price of the week is the most traded price from yesterday, is around 308.69. Okay. We're above that right now, and we're still in this supply, okay, from the past. So this area is heavy supply here. So it's just not going to rip through it. Now, we're subdued this morning. We have a subdued market. It's not getting tons of money flows into any area of substance. I mean, even like technology's up 0.30. It's not up 1%. Semis are not up 1%, right? I have a feeling like we might just pull back and go long, get, to work off the supply. So, right at last month's highs, right above them right now. A lot of heavy demand below. So I just think you have to lean long. That's basically it, right? Even if we pull back, you lean long. And that's your hourlies, okay? Now, let's go to that market profile, volume profile now. And we'll look at this in my preferred way to look at markets. Okay, here's the market profile, volume profile now. All right. So let's dive in here. Okay, so what we have right now in the ES is not the same thing we have going on in the NASDAQ. Okay, so why don't we get into scenarios here in the ES? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is break out the session here. You got a little baby session inside yesterday's session. Okay, we can even probably expand this even more. Okay, so let's mark off some things here. A little baby session in the overnights. Here's yesterday's range. Actually, not a bad range. It just, the price action was horrible. Okay, not a bad range. 49 points is not a bad range. Okay, you could have bought the open and rode it. All right, but now it's all about the overnight highs, 76.34 and 76.12, the overnight low. We're gonna test one of these sides. Okay, that's basically it. It's gonna be about the overnight session. All right, and then yesterday's highs and lows for targets. Stacked demand down here. Now remember, we have tons of overhead supply, but that most traded price of the month is 76.55s right here. I think that it's probably the ceiling today, but I don't, you never know. Okay, so I'm going to start off with longs. Okay, so we're right at the most traded price of the week, right? 76.30s right here, right now. Okay, it's pretty bullish that you've established the most traded price of the week right here. That just says value is matching price, and that's bullish. Okay, you're having the acceptance. That's price acceptance. Okay, so for a long, couple of choices here. Okay, first thing, what I would want to see is take out the overnight high, and this could happen in a couple ways. Take out the overnight highs, and then all of a sudden, let's say you get some selling, and you hold the 76.30s. Okay, and it can happen multiple ways. It could perfectly hold it, go below it. All you want to make sure is that as long as it stays above it, right, and pulls back right on it, and you have a decently strong internals, you go long 76.30. You target the yesterday's highs, 76.48s, and target that most traded price of the month, 76.55s, 56 area. Now you have a ton of overhead supply. Now that could generally push a little higher, but then I would think it would revert back. Okay. Now here's another option. Let's say you drop down, take out the overnight low, 76.12s, right? You sweep it, come back inside overnight range, put in a higher low, probably get bought. First target should be 76.30, most traded price of the week, and then target the 76.56. Okay. Now, here's another long. Notice the theme here. I would love this to be quick. Quick sell-off. Quick into demand zone here. Stack demand zone here. Also an unfilled gap. Okay. Now, if you come in really quick, take out yesterday's lows, V bottom, recovery back into yesterday's range, higher low, and you get support in demand and the gap, it's a long. You target 76.30 and see if you can hit yesterday's high, 76.48, and then finally the most traded price of the month, 76.55. Okay. Now, shorts. I am not a fan of shorts, but there always is a short. Okay. So, pretty easy one here would be you open up, right? Push down a little bit, retest the 76.30s, find some selling. You target overnight lows, 76.12, and then you go for the 76 What is that? 75.99s, yesterday's lows, and you have that unfilled gap. Now you have an unfilled gap where there's demand. Okay? I don't know what happens. I think you get bought here. I don't think you get much room to run. Okay? Unless the deal is off or something. Okay? That's one. Now, number two could be you just drive, break into yesterday's highs, and then get stopped by the most traded price of the month, the 76.55s. And then you don't spend much time here. Reject, retest the 76.56. That's your short target, 76.30s, the most traded price of the week. Okay, that's your long and shorts in the ES. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. Okay, here's your NASDAQ, your NQ. Now, interesting. We just were back in yesterday's range. Okay, you can see we were gapping up. Price is here now. So we were gapping up, and we are no longer. We are no longer. Okay, so we're inside yesterday's range. You were gapping up though. So I'm seeing it right off the bat here. That technology is almost flat. Okay, and there's not much leaders now. Now I don't know. The ADP just came out. Maybe that's moving the market a little bit. I'm not that worried about it. Okay, the levels we have to talk about here. So let's get into the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ. Okay. All right. So right now you're at like the midpoint of the overnight session. You're also at the most traded price of the week. Your 308.75s. Your 308.75s. Okay. That makes sense to me. The most traded price was where you're at. Okay. And it's also bullish because people value file price. Okay. So you have stacked demand right here. Okay. That's a major demand right there. Okay. From the bottom of the overnight session, you had a lot of time to hold there and then rip back up. And that's just a very crowded area. It's not generally in this course of the bullish news. It's probably not an easy area to cut through. It's just not. Okay. Let's break out the session. Okay. Let's break out the session. Now notice it had problems in this supply. It should. It should have problems. Okay. Now you have an equal low here at the overnight low. That's could probably be a draw on liquidity. It's going to attract the market there. Okay. That's pretty much an area that's probably going to get hit today. Not today. If today, tomorrow. Okay. Now, so what are we looking at now? You got that equal low in the overnights, 307.55. Okay. And 306, let's call it, is yesterday's lows. It happens to be the 24-hour most traded price of the month and demand and an unfilled gap. Okay. So very similar here, to the ES. You just have major levels, and I just think this is just, you got to lean long. Okay. And if money flows stay in tech today, that could be, I might switch to the NASDAQ because the average true range now has slowed down tremendously. Positive gamma, contract rollover. The volume's probably lower. Okay, see how we're moving now? We're just about to take out this bullish fair value gap here. We already did. We just took it out. So I'm going to remove that. Okay. And we're in a major demand. All right, so let's get into scenarios now. Okay, so what I'm looking for is a beautiful pullback. Okay, now you have longs probably taking profits. So right here, stack demand, 307.55. Okay, if you come into 307.55 and you take it out, like, oh no, and the weekly date anchor view up is at 307.27. Okay, If you sweep that, right, and you go like this, you wait and see if it comes back inside the overnight range with a higher low, you are going long. And you are going to target the 308.75 is the most traded price of the week. And then you go for the overnight highs, 309.75, and try to work off this overhead supply. Okay. That happens to be the overnight low is yesterday's 50% retracement, the midpoint of yesterday. That's just probably taking candy from a baby right there, unless there's some negative news that comes out. Okay. Now, so what else? What else would I be interested in? Okay. Now, a very fast sell-off. Now, if the sell-off gets some momentum, you're like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And we go into this major demand, okay, major demand in yesterday's lows, which happens to be the gap from yesterday with a lot of demand around it. If you find support in a gap and this demand, kind of V-bottom here, go back into yesterday's range with a higher low, and the market's not that weak and it comes down here quickly, you want to be long, targeting the most traded price of the week, 308.75s. Okay, that would be a nice trade. Maybe you get the cherry on top with the overnight lows. That is longs. Okay, now that's all I'm interested in. Yes, can we come up here? But this is going to be tough on the first shot to take all that out. Okay, that's why I don't like that as much. Let's go to shorts. Okay, there is overhead supply here. All right, for me to be really interested in a short in the Nasdaq, what has to happen? Well, you need to take out this demand. You need to just clean it out, like take out the overnight lows. Maybe find some acceptance here, and I'm like, okay, there's acceptance, and then get a pullback, retest the most traded price of the week, 308.75s, right? Retest that. That's your short. If the market stays not strong, then you target yesterday's lows, the 306.01s. And now you have a gap there, but you have heavy demand. So I don't think you go too much farther than this. I really don't. Like I said, unless there's some bearish catalyst. Okay. Can you have a short up here? You can. It's not my preferred one, but what I would say is, let's say we take out the overnight highs and you sweep it, come back inside the overnight range with a lower high. First target would be the 308.75s, and then you target the overnight lows, 307.55s. Maybe you get the cherry on top and try to hit yesterday's lows. Okay. That's it for me, folks. Okay. Now we're going to go over to market outlook here. Okay. So the ES level that we're going to look at is that 76.30 is the most traded price of the week. And the 76.56, the most traded price of the month, right? Those are very important levels. Okay. I am leaning long. Okay. So maybe I get an opportunity. That doesn't mean someone who's short can't catch it. It just, I feel like that's the lower probability. I want to be on the longs. I want to be with the momentum. Okay. It just becomes an easier trade. All right. Now, that's your ES, right? We're inside yesterday. We're inside yesterday's session. We were never gapping up. The Nasdaq, you were gapping up, and now you're not, but you're back inside the session, right? So in the Nasdaq, what I was talking about before, your most traded price of the week is 308.75. Okay, we just went up to heavy supply, and the real level to look at is your overnight lows, the 307.55s. There's an equal low there that's probably going to get hit. If it does, I'm going to be all over a long, most likely, if I see what I like in internals. Okay, just like the ES, you have to lean long. It's just the easier trade. People are going to look for pullbacks to buy. Okay, so that's the theme for today. Okay, again, it might be weird price action. It probably will be. We have FOMC tomorrow. I don't see any outsized move before FOMC. Got to understand that. Okay, so If you enjoyed that analysis, please smash the like button. That'd be much appreciated. Okay. And as always, hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Give you the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in ES and NASDAQ futures. All right. Now remember, if you want more in-depth coverage, okay, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. All right. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Now I'm going to go live. I go live every morning. Live every morning, dropping golden nuggets. All right. Should be live around 9:45 a.m. Please come join me. I will not steer you wrong. All right. Now that's it for me, folks. Now we have our plans. All right. Remember, I'm leaning long. Okay. Unless something changes. Okay. Unless something changes. Okay. Now, everybody, I hope you have a process and we follow it. I'm going to follow mine. We have our game plan. Remember, no trade is a trade. That is a position. CAS is a position. Yesterday, I had no trades. The only thing I'm in right now is an NEM long. Okay. That's it. And that's stock. Okay. So it's not an option. It's a stock. I'm long a stock. Right. Long shares. Okay. So if I don't see you in my Discord, I hope to see you tomorrow morning, which is tomorrow is an FOMC day. Okay. FOMC. All right, everybody. Take it easy.